Apart from trying to colonise the planet and drinking tea, the British are famous for another particular pastime: eating baked beans, whether it's with a full English breakfast or on toast. The English love baked beans. In fact, we love them so much that in 2022 we imported a whopping 100.9 metric tons of the little orange blighters. So as an Englishman myself, I thought it was my duty for king and country to beat Spore as a baked bean. When I say beat though, I mean getting past the civilization stage, because the space stage is virtually infinite. You can beat it, but it takes an excruciatingly long time, and I detest the space stage with a passion. It's not fun to play, and it's not fun to watch. So once the beans reach the big black, we will leave them to colonize space at their leisure. Here are the rules I came up with. I'm not allowed to have any arms or legs, and beans are quite famous for not having eyes. So originally I went without them, but for the sake of the video I decided against it later on, as it wouldn't be fun for you to watch everything in black and white with a slight vignette over the screen. Vignette, hold on.
Vignette.
That word. And I also decided that I'm only allowed to have one weapon or social part. Let's get started. After choosing my planet, I picked carnivore because I like to imagine that in every baked bean is a meat-eating demon of exponential power. I name my planet Heinz, an asteroid crashes on it, and the bean empire is born. After eating a few scraps of flesh floating around in the primordial sludge, I can finally edit my creature. I paint it orange, make it as bean-shaped as I can. I gave it an extremely unimaginative name,
Bean.
Stick a tiny mouth on it, and jump back in. Because I don't have any fins, I'm slower than my grandma trying to use her phone, so catching up to prey to eat them was excruciatingly painful, and all I have is a tiny mouth, so I don't have much in the way of defense or offense. After a good hour of slowly crawling around trying to get food, and getting chomped on in the process, I finally managed to corner one of the single brain-celled amoebas, grab his omnivore straw, and I did try to continue with the chompy mouth for as long as I could, but it turned out to be more awful than dinner at Hitler's house, so I swapped to the straw. And this turned out to be the correct decision, as I was killing the other cells left, right and centre after this, and quickly advanced to the creature stage, made my creation more bean-shaped, and once I looked at the eyeless abomination emerge from the deep, I realised what evil I'd just unleashed on this poor planet. This was the point I slapped an eye on it, because as you can see, it's god-awful to look at. I made friends with the Goms as they seemed armless.
That was terrible.
Then after this, I decided to hunt the Flonks into extinction, because they were too close to our nest for my liking. But because they ran all the way to their purple cousin's house while I was doing this, I got slaughtered by them because karma. I steal one of the Crinkut's eggs, which gave me just enough DNA to boost me to the second level. And now I can have two beans travelling together, which made me think of a collective name for them. Birds have a flock, fish have a school, and I decided that a tin of beans worked quite well, so I went with that. Whilst me and my new bean bro tried exterminating the Crinkuts, the last one ran right through a doofnit nest. Once we end the bloodline, we get rid of the doofnits as well because we don't leave witnesses. And we also take out the doodles for good measure. The last of the doofnits did the usual procedure of running to another nest. So after finishing it off and our brains growing an extra few inches, I get absolutely destroyed by a regate. Then the rest of the family decides to abandon me and my parent before I manage to hatch out my egg. Once I do, I form a new tin and we make the pilgrimage. We arrive to a warm reception, and then me and the rest of the tin lads go and destroy the Blinks in more gang-related violence. After spending more time wandering around the planet attacking everything in sight, the worst happened. I was killed whilst trying to fight some snail boys, and the game crashed. Then upon reloading it, I realised that I hadn't saved it since I got past the cell stage. All the progress I'd made up to this point was gone, so I had to begrudgingly start from my last save point. I rushed through to get back to the creature stage, then I had to do a lot of murders to get back to where I was in the stage previously. I chose to go for a weapon part instead of a social one, so I put a Spitfire on the orange bastard. I murder all the missed feathers, feast on their remains, then we bit off more than we could chew trying to fight these bugaboos, because they annihilated us in seconds. We forced the E-monks into extinction right in front of the Quabarts, so it shouldn't have been surprising to them when we started spitting bean juice in their eyes to poison them. At this point, the beans' brains grew even larger and more thoughts of war and destruction filled their minds. And now that the tin could have 3 members, we set off to spread the word. And that word is genocide. We put the Moes in their place, steal their eggs, cross the Max Tods off the list, then the Pun Puns. The rest of the tin migrates to a new nest again, And once we arrive there safely, I form a new posse, we hunt down all the danger donkeys, which took us to the tribal stage. The beans learn to make fire and build a hut, which might not sound like much, but when you consider the fact they have no arms, it makes it terrifying. After gathering some food, another tribe emerges. In this stage, I need to approach things more tactically than spit in their face and bite them. So I decided to befriend the brown tribe as they are the closest to mine, which means they'll give me regular gifts of food to allow me to bolster my ranks. And all it takes is for us to play them a little song. Once things are all hunky-dory between us, 3 more tribes show up and the blue one immediately attacks me. So I'm taking them out last. They will be the final domino to fall on our path to domination. I tried fighting the purple tribe, but they ate the beans for breakfast. So after I made more babies, I tried to befriend the green tribe, but whilst on the way there, we get eaten by a giant purple tarantula. So now I have to make more bean babies again. Once I do, I make temporary peace with the purple tribe, so they'll stop randomly attacking me. Then I noticed that the weed gang only had 1 member after fighting off an attack from the Grimace party. This would have been the perfect opportunity to befriend them. But no, I wanted to kick them whilst they were down, so I murdered their chief and burned his village to the ground. Then I noticed that the purple tribe had started sending me gifts, so I decided after kicking the blue tribe off the planet, I would return the favour by making peace with them. Speaking of kicking ass, the blue tribe was also low on manpower, so I sent my troops to annihilate them. Whilst I was doing this, I noticed that some of them were starving to death, and as sad as that is, they are dying for a good cause, so I just forced them to keep going. Once the blue village was nothing more than a few cinders blowing in the wind, I noticed that my beans were refusing to eat, maybe out of protest for making them fight whilst hungry. But I won't stand for that, so after letting them starve to death, I just make more babies. Then send most of them to attack the yellow tribe as they just started and were weak. And that plan worked perfectly as they lasted as long as a whale in Norwegian waters. On the way back, we hunted the Leonas into extinction, and after spending some time getting back to full health and having some food, we charmed the pants off the purple tribe, which blasts us into the civilization stage. And I spend the best part of an hour making my city hall. You can probably guess what I'm going to make before you even see it finished. And if you guessed I'd make a piss poor representation of a Heinz tin, then you would be 100% correct. Once it's built and the beans move in, they immediately start thinking about nuclear weapons. I tell ya, this playthrough has made me glad we eat the psychotic little bastards. If beans ever evolve higher brain function, we are royally screwed. I make another Heinz tin with a bunch of guns welded to it, name it the Beaninator, then I give the beans something any self-respecting civilization needs: big top hats. After getting myself some spice to make some money, more cities pop up. And there's an old question that goes, war, what is it good for? I'll tell you what it's good for: expansion. We capture the red city, then the yellow one starts on me, but I send them packing by setting up some turrets along the walls of my city. I make a bean theatre, slap it down, then I build some houses that are meant to look like beans on toast. You might say that no one has their toast standing upright. And to that I say, fuck your rules. At this point I was having a full-scale war with the yellow city. I upgrade my tin tanks, then I build a fork factory to maximise spice profits, and capture the yellow city. Then after spending some time racking up a load of money from the spice mines, the red city captures 3 of mine because I wasn't paying attention like an idiot. So I send as many tanks as I can to start taking them back. Once I take back my island, the beans discover aviation. I make a toast plane, build a small army of them, then start taking over the green cities. Once I do, I make my army even bigger, then get my revenge on the red dickheads. Once they've surrendered, I send my vast army over to one of the blue cities, and destroy them in a matter of seconds. Then they call me telling me they surrender. Once we take over the planet, I build the SS Breakfast, then send them off to space. And with that, I beat the Spore Civ stage as a baked bean. Spore is such a wonderfully bizarre game, it's perfect for doing dumb fun challenges like this one. I had so much fun with this run. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, why not leave a like and subscribe? If you have any suggestions for future runs, or you just want to say hi, feel free to leave a comment. And I'll see you next time.